Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason Kuchkum. I am the Special Project Consultant with FHQ Developments. I'm here today to talk to you about band funding for First Nation students. First of all, before we begin, I want to direct you to the Regina District Education Regina District Education Council website, www.rdiec.ca. Go to the link on the website for parents as career coaches. Fill out the survey and it will enter you into a draw for a $500 bursary. Also, there's the RDIEC YouTube channel that you can also check out. And I've got the information for the contacts at RDIEC as well. So moving along here, I want to talk to you about funding opportunities for Indigenous students. In my position here with FHQ Developments, one of my roles is to seek out funding opportunities for projects, for training, seeking out potential partnerships for business. So I've been in this field for a while, and I've had my experience with actual funding programs. Looking at getting more Indigenous people into the trades or into careers, or the post-secondary, and what have you. So let's go move along here, and I'm going to talk to you about the post-secondary student support program. So the post-secondary student support program, pretty much every First Nation out there should have a post-secondary coordinator. They may call it something different, but typically it's called a post-secondary student support program. So it was designed to improve the socioeconomic outcomes of First Nations people by providing financial support to First Nation students at the post-secondary level. So that could include, to be eligible, you must be a First Nation student and maintain satisfactory academic standing at a degree, diploma, or certificate granting institution that is recognized by the province or territory in Canada or internationally. So this could include your post-secondary institutions like the U of R, U of S, colleges, tech schools, like Saskatchewan Indian Institute of Technologies, Sask Polytech, Parkland College, Southeast College, etc. So it is eligible for those institutions. This is a core federal funding provided to First Nations or First Nation designated organization. And it is also the responsibility of the First Nations to determine the selection criteria of its member applicants. So it's not always going to be the same across the board. There may be little changes in terms of policy and who qualifies and who gets priority. So for example, eligible costs include tuition, books, living allowance, travel if necessary. The maximum allowed per student is $53,000. However, for a master's or PhD program, the student may be eligible for up to $90,000. However, it is not guaranteed. And here again, there might be restrictions. I know for myself, I am First Nation. I am from a First Nation within the Treaty 4 territory, and I only have a bachelor's, so I'm kind of lower on the totem pole, so to speak. They want to give priority to new students coming out of high school or who are ready to go to their first year of university. So as you get higher in your education, your funding eligibility decreases a little bit. So I just want to make that aware. That at least that's how it is on some First Nations as well. So the University and College Entrance Preparation Program, this program is intended to prepare and increase the academic level required for entrance into post-secondary institution. And this program provides financial assistance for a maximum of 1 year. Typically for mature students, people or individuals who have been away from school for a while, that 1 year refresher kind of goes a long way to getting them back to the swing of things. And they help some develop good habits of studying time management and those types of things. So, the eligible costs of studies in the form of tuition support for part-time and full-time students that may include the required fees, tuition, cost of books and supplies required for the courses as well. It also may provide they provide travel support for full-time students who must leave their permanent place of residence to attend the university, college, or college entrance program. Living allowance for full-time students to help cover the costs of food, shelter, local transportation, and daycare. It's administered by the First Nations, or the First Nations designated organization that determines the funding collection criteria in accordance with the guidance, national guidelines of Indigenous Services Canada, who provide the funding for this program as part of core funding agreements with Indigenous governments and organizations. And applicants must be status. So status means they must be on the band list of a First Nation. Otherwise, they're not eligible. And in this case, the selection criteria is determined by Indigenous Services Canada. So, and not there's very few that control their selection criteria at the band level. So anyway, I took out an application for post-secondary education. I didn't include the First Nation on it. I wanted to make sure I kept it confidential. So this is what a form that would look like that you'd fill out for funding. So here's your banking information that they would fill out. The tuition's on there as well. So you can fill these forms out once you decide which program you're going to apply for. That way, hopefully, if you're accepted into your program, these forms will be done, and hopefully the funding is approved. So every nation has a application form. They might not all be the same, but the end goal is the same, and that's for them to access funding from the First Nation. So again, these forms, you can put in your monthly budgets, monthly allowance, tuition, book supplies, those types of things, costs that are approved, that are going to be used for education purposes. Again, you can also list family status. This is where you put dependents, children, to provide extra costs in terms of childcare. So again, as part of that application process here. So I want to go on now to what is called the Indigenous Skills Employment Training Program. Now, it was formerly known as the Assets Program, which is the Aboriginal Skills Employment Training Strategy. It's now changed its name to the Indigenous Skills Employment and Training Strategy. What this is intended to do is to help Indigenous people improve their skills, or more or less First Nation people to improve their skills and find employment. The ISEP program provides funding to Indigenous service delivery organizations that design and deliver job training services to First Nations, Inuit, Métis, and urban non-affiliated Indigenous people in their communities. So this funding is provided to all three groups. They choose organizations to administer the funding. So for example, in Regina here, First Nation Employment Center would be the contract holder to administer the ISETS funding, and Gabriel Dumont, I believe, is the funder for the Métis. They administer the ISETS program out of here. ISETS, they can now fund certificate or diploma programs at a post-secondary institution. However, degree or higher programs are not eligible. So, if you want to go to Sask Poly, maybe take it to your business diploma, those are things like that will be covered, as well as any trades programs. So carpentry, welding, those types of things that you can apply for. So to apply, contact your local service delivery office. There's usually one in each tribal council. So for FHQ Tribal Council, Foster Tribal Council, it's in the fort, and they service the 11 First Nations within the Tribal Council, plus a few of the communities, outlying communities within, I believe it's 80-kilometer radius of that area. So they're usually administered by your respective tribal council or a SciTag funded office. So again, Gabriel Dumont, First Nation Employment Center, or your local tribal council are the ones that administer this funding. And they have their own selection criteria and approval guidelines. They're not all the same across the board, so it's best to contact the ISS coordinator within that area to ask those questions. Again, this is a kind of a copy of the SciTag application form for funding. It'll ask for things like your name, your band, any dependents, your program. So it's going to go through all of those typical questions as you go through to apply for funding. So again, they will have to fill this out to apply for it. There's other scholarships and bursaries and loans out there that they can access. Again, Canada Saskatchewan Integrated Student Loans Program, the Canada Student Loans Program, COVID-19. There's grants for full-time students, part-time, students with dependents, with disabilities, and equipment for students with permanent disabilities. So these are all out there that people can access. Scholarships, bursaries, and loans. Again, there are also other sources of funding out there that students can apply for. Check with your local university or school that you're going to see what they have for students to apply for. Usually they'll have an Indigenous coordinator or Indigenous liaison person that can help with those types of applications. So I've listed a few of them here, and a lot of times the deadline is around that February 28th area to apply, especially for the one at First Nations University. So yeah. Again, there's some more scholarships and bursaries and loans. There's the Sask Energy Aboriginal Scholarship. CIC has one, and we also have one here at FHK Development. It's the Women in Trades Scholarships last bursary. Now, what that is we've been able to raise money every year through a golf tournament. We help support Indigenous female students going into the trades or non-traditional industries, and we've been very successful in raising the funds for that over this last year. So we have agreements with all the various technical schools, Sask Poly, SIT, Regina Trades and Skills, Parkland College. We provide the funding for them to administer these scholarships, and it's based on their guidelines as well. So that's one that we personally fund for our Indigenous students. Again, each tech school will have scholarships and bursaries, and usually if you go see the Indigenous student rep or student advisor, they'll have those there for you as well. So that kind of concludes my presentation. If there's any questions, please don't hesitate to call me. I have a couple of contacts here that if you have any questions, feel free to give them a shout. Marilyn Keepness, she's the ISEDS coordinator at the FHQ Tribal Council. Her contact information is there. If you are a status person who is on a banned list, contact your local band or wherever you're on that band list. Ask to speak to the post-secondary coordinator. Sometimes they double up as with other positions as well, but give them a call and they'll be able to direct you to the post-secondary coordinator or the person responsible for that program. So that's a little bit of information on how to apply for some of the funding programs out there. Like again, if you have any questions, my contact information is there. Give me a call. Thank you for your time, and have a good day. Thanks.